Coming up on F1 24/7 this week, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen exchange harsh words about Lance Stroll. Red Bull are facing a Ferrari hurdle to push forward the engine freeze. Red Bull said that they have no plans to replace Alex Albon before the end of the season. And we take a look at the latest transfer news in Word on the Street. The Portuguese Grand Prix on Sunday seeing Lewis Hamilton set a new F1 record with the most wins of all time in Formula 1. 92 Grand Prix victories. Just incredible to be even witnessing history in front of our very eyes. So that Grand Prix will forever be remembered for that, and of course our first visit to the Algarve circuit, and fingers crossed we can go back there in the future. However, it wasn't all plain sailing, and since that race, a lot of backlash has been coming towards some drivers. Not towards Lewis Hamilton, funny enough, but towards two drivers, Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, for those harsh words that they have said throughout the course of the weekend to one particular driver, and that is Lance Stroll. I'll start with the incident first. So Lance Stroll was coming towards Lando Norris on the start-finish straight, a very effective DRS zone. Goes to the left-hand side, very late on by the way, goes round the outside towards the start of turn one, makes contact with Norris going into the first corner. Not a lot of room, they make contact, Lance Stroll spins off, and of course Lando Norris is very frustrated. Lando Norris then proceeds to kind of slate Lance Stroll in the media pen by saying that he's going to avoid racing him in future races. And after those comments Lando Norris made, a lot of people seem to go towards Lance Stroll and have a go at him. Well, it was more down to the Lando Norris fan base, but there was other people as well from who do support other drivers, or just an F1 fan in general, also had a go at the young Canadian driver. But that wasn't the only incident he was involved in, because back in FP2 on the same track on the same weekend, Lance Stroll was involved with an incident with Max Verstappen at turn one, the same place where he had contact with Lando Norris in the race. Verstappen coming up towards him in the DRS zone, again in the slipstream, pulls out on the right hand side, effectively racing in FP1, which is a bit of a, why are you doing this? It's only FP2, sorry. He goes to make the move. Lance Stroll doesn't see him. Max is it probably in the wrong place, I would say. He should have backed off. He shouldn't have really went for it, or even if he could make it off, he should have really done it a long time ago. Nevertheless, they make contact, and Max really goes in on him, if I'm going to be totally honest with him, especially after what was revealed, what he said after the race had finished. So like I said, I'm just going to talk about Lando Norris's comments first. Now, of course, first of all, I think in the heat of the moment, anyone is going to say harsh words, and they're going to say anything the first thing that comes to their mind. It's very angry. The drivers are full of adrenaline. They're trying to do the best that they possibly can. They're frustrated that something has hindered their race, or it's going to say, well, that wasn't me, type of thing, and you're going to get very, very angry. So what Lando Norris has said as well, and afterwards, he's still very angry, still very pumped up as well, full of adrenaline. He says what he says, but not only that, he also has a dig at Lewis Hamilton, pretty much saying that, all right, it doesn't affect me in terms of how many wins he's already got. He's only got to beat two drivers. He's got the best car, type of thing. And again, that did wind up a lot of other people. But since then, Lance Stroll has taken to social media and apologised for those comments he said about Lance Stroll and about Lewis Hamilton. I think more so the Lance Stroll comments is like just a spur of the moment thing. I don't think Lando actually meant them, and even at any other point, I don't think Lando Norris would ever say anything like that. I don't think he's that kind of guy, in my opinion. And as well with the Lewis Hamilton thing, I think that's more like that is more Lando's opinion, because let's be honest, it doesn't really affect him at all in terms of what he said about Hamilton, in the sense of, well, it doesn't affect me. Well, you're right, it doesn't affect him at all. It's like 92 wins for Lewis, it's like brilliant. But he did also congratulate him in the press release McLaren released after the Grand Prix. So yeah, I just think he was angry. I think he was more angry towards the Lance Stroll incident as well. So I think that might have annoyed him a little bit. I really don't know. I think it did get took out of context, his comments about Lewis Hamilton. Let's be totally honest. He did respect him. He did say, right, yes, it was good from what he's done. All right, yes, maybe the comments about the car and stuff like that, maybe not what he should have said. But in a way, he is right. But Hamilton does deserve the best car, so yeah, but realistically, it doesn't really affect him whatsoever. But obviously, the Lance Stroll comments, again, took it out of context, because I think because of Lando Norris's fans having to go to Lance Stroll, Lando Norris has really been forced to come out with an apology for what he had said. Now, if nothing had come about of that, I don't think Lando Norris would have said anything about it. Maybe he could have said, maybe a little apology at the next race, or something he might have said on Twitch or social media. I really don't know. But just because a lot of people did go to Lance Stroll, and there was reports that Lance Stroll got really upset by the comments he was getting. So, yeah, I mean, it's wrong, very wrong for people to go after and criticise Lance Stroll immediately, and now all of a sudden this whole paid driver, daddy's money type of thing, it's resurfacing, which is like, hang on a minute, Lance Stroll, in my opinion, has been one of the best performance this season. He's beaten Perez in the vast majority of races. It's only recently he hasn't been on his form. He had them 2 DNFs, then of course he missed the Eiffel Grand Prix, and of course he had the lap 1 incident in Russia, and the Grand Prix at Portugal was the first time he had properly raced in a month. So he was going to be a bit rusty. He did make a few mistakes. It wasn't Lance Stroll's best weekend. I'm not going to defend him from that. He did make a lot of mistakes, which, if you haven't raced for a month, you're going to be doing so. And Lance Stroll is still very young, so having that time away from the track, you know what I mean, he is going to be a bit rusty. And just like I said, some of the comments that he's getting and stuff, and like I said, the resurfacing of he's not a good driver. Lance Stroll is a good driver. He's proven it this season. Just because of one incident, all of a sudden, bam, it's back to square one. It's like, no, not at all. That's just totally irrelevant to what he's done this season. One bad performance doesn't make a driver, not at all. Now, moving on to Max Verstappen's comments, this is where it gets a bit more serious. Now, I'm not going to repeat what he said, but they were very offensive. Now, Lando Norris did make an apology. Was it necessary to make that apology? No, he didn't need to make it. He made it because it was getting a lot of public attention. Max Verstappen, on the other hand, isn't getting spoken about, which I'm a bit surprised at, because if you do know what he said, it's a bit, well, that warrants more of an apology than what Lando Norris's comments do. And Max Verstappen hasn't given out an apology as of yet at time of recording. I'm hoping he has between now and when this video goes live, but I'm just as surprised as anybody as to why Max hasn't said anything about this. And this isn't the first time. I think he made some comments, the same kind of comment, back in 2017 at the US Grand Prix, when he got a 5-second penalty for going wide when he was overtaking Kimi Raikkonen. So he called the steward this said name, and he called also Lance Stroll something beginning with an R, and another word beginning with an M, I think it was. And the organisation for this other word have actually came out with a statement and said Max Verstappen trying to push him to make a public apology for what he had said, which he needs to do that. If Max Verstappen wants to be this kind of big image kind of guy, be this professional racing driver, he needs to come out and apologise for what he had said, because he would have offended people. And if he doesn't, I am gonna lose a bit of respect for Verstappen as a person, not as a driver, as a person. I do hope he does man up and come out with this and just kind of, okay guys, I do apologise for what I had said. I will not be saying it again. This isn't the first time, and to be fair, it probably won't be the last time. Same with Lando Norris. These guys are very young. They're going to learn from what they said. I'm pretty sure Sebastian has said a couple of things when he was younger. Lewis Hamilton would have said something. You know, Alonso, Schumacher, everyone would have said this even before Formula One. Some really regretful things, and maybe things, okay, I shouldn't have really said that. But as time goes on, they are going to understand and get better as to what they're going to be saying in the heat of the moment type of thing. They will understand that. So of course they are still very young, so they've still got a lot of learning to do. The Norris comments, all right, yeah, does it warrant an apology? No, not really. That's just his opinion. But like I said, loads of media attention. He has to issue an apology on Twitter, which he has done, which is really, really good. Well done, Lando Norris. And Max Verstappen needs to come out with an apology. Let me know your opinions about these in the comment section below. Next up, engine talk. Now, as we all know, Red Bull are currently without an engine supplier beyond 2021. After it was announced Honda would be leaving the sport for the 4th time, and Red Bull are being left scrambling about for an engine supplier. There's talk of them taking on the Honda engines as their own IP. There's talk of them going to find another manufacturer. There's talk of them going back to Renault if they can't find another supplier, which is a very, like a last minute, like a no-go type of thing I'm getting the vibe of. So what Red Bull are kind of leaning towards is taking over the Honda development stage of the engines, buying buying out the facilities, buying the engines, using a different name. I think like a company in Austria that does engine wear or whatever. Helmut Marko knows them in Austria. They're talking about taking over that, renaming the engines something else to this Austrian company, and developing the engines themselves. Now the issue is Red Bull don't really have any facilities to accommodate making engines, and it's very expensive. Red Bull are not an engine manufacturer; they're an energy drink. So they've got nothing to do with engines. They just build the car and get someone else to, with the facilities and with the time, to build them an engine to give to them to then race with. So Red Bull is literally like, I don't think, if the relationship between Renault and Red Bull wasn't the way it was, I literally do think Red Bull would be going back to Renault purely because it would be an easy option. All right, fair enough, let's reunite with Renault and let's just try again. But because the relationship was so sour, Red Bull's, it's like a no-go. We don't want to go back to Renault. We would rather try and make our own engines or develop our own engines rather than go back to Renault, a well-known engine supplier. It's just not an option. Now, like I said earlier, it is very expensive to be able to develop your own engines. Now, there is an engine freeze coming in 2023 where you build the engine and there'll be no more development on that engine. Now, Red Bull want that pushed back to 2022 to be able to build to make the engines make the engines to their spec, and then there'll be no more development, making it a lot cheaper than what they would if they had to develop it. Because if they would, I would assume pushing in a lot of money towards the development of the engine, then Red Bull could be running probably in the red, in a lot of financial problems, and maybe a lot of down on power, whatever, maybe lack of reliability. And even if they don't develop the engine because they don't have much money in that department, and other engine suppliers like Renault, Ferrari, and Mercedes, they're going to get the upper hand, leaving Red Bull very far behind, and probably in the similar situation as to what McLaren and Honda were back in the era between 2015 and 2017. Now, for this regulation to go back a year from 2023 to 2022, they need the approval of the other three engine manufacturers: Mercedes, Renault, and Ferrari. Have a guess as to who might reject this. Yep, you guessed it. It was Ferrari. Ferrari are no. They're saying no to this. Now, am I surprised? Absolutely not. I'm not surprised in the slightest. Even Mercedes themselves have said, yes, we approve of this. We would happily go down this route to bring the engine freeze forward a year. Renault are on the fence. They're okay, we can say by this, but they really don't know. And Ferrari are just like a no. They are seeing it as that they are not prioritising that. Ferrari are saying that it's not the main priority, the engine freeze, for that, and of course bringing it forward a year. They are saying that they are more prioritising, or everyone should be prioritising more about the new engine regulations for the talks to begin in 2026, which could be a make or break situation for the sport. Now, he has got a point. Let's not rule that out, because 2026 is going to be vital for the future of Formula One. So F1 teams need to get this right. But if Ferrari reject this and the engine freeze stays until 2023, more than likely Red Bull could walk away from Formula One. Now, it's the last resort. They will not be going back to Renault unless, they could, if they want to be in Formula One, they could go back to Renault, but because of how sour the relationship ended, and it's not even their number one option, because let's face it, that would be an easy option to go back to Renault, just reunite with how they used to be, instead of trying to find another engine supplier or try and make their own engines. It would be a lot easier to go back to Renault, but they don't want to do that. That's why they're going down the whole, we'll buy the Honda engines route. That's what they want to do. Otherwise, they would go out looking for another engine supplier, which is going to be probably even harder than making your own engines, more than likely, because of how non-eco-friendly the engines are these days compared to other sports anyways. So yeah, and like I said, even if Ferrari do reject this and Red Bull are like, well, it's going to be far too expensive for us, we're not going to be able to afford this, and up until 2023, we could be losing not one but two Formula One teams as well, because if Red Bull go, AlphaTauri are going to be going as well. I don't think Ferrari are that bothered, if I'm being totally honest. Ferrari know that they're going to be here for the rest of the F1 years. They've been here since the start. They'll be here probably for the rest of their Formula One days, or even for the full Ferrari days as well. So, and I think Mercedes are more concerned about the future of the sport as well, because they're like, they're like the newer guns in terms of Renault and Ferrari as well. They want Red Bull and AlphaTauri to stick around. As for Renault, again, they're very much on the fence, but they should be leaning more towards keeping Red Bull in the sport, because we could be looking at 16 teams on the grid by 2022, which is a no-go. That should not be the case. And if that is the case, Formula One is just basically just make a grave for it. If I'm being honest, make a grave for it. It's dead. It's dying. And Ferrari probably see it as well. That's one less competitor for us, I suppose. And we're still going to be here. So, and why would we worry about these guys panicking for engines? They should go back to Renault. Will Ferrari see sense? Honestly, I really don't know. They are so unpredictable. They might go left the field and just completely surprise us and approve of this. However, if they don't approve this, more than likely we could be losing another F1 team. Not just one, but two as well. What do you think about this? Do you think Ferrari will approve? Do you think do you think Red Bull can get this deal over the line? Or do you think that they might have to bite the bullet and go back to Renault power? Let me know in the comment section below. Sticking with Red Bull now. Now, Christian Horner has come out to the media and insisted that Alex Albon will not be dropped before the end of the 2020 season. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because he said the same thing about Pierre Gasly last season. Gasly will not be dropped. He will be here for the end of 2019. Next race, he was dropped, went back to Toro Rosso, and Alex Albon went the other way. Nah, never mind. But do I believe him? Yes. There's 5 races left. There's no need to change the drivers. There really, really isn't. I mean, Albon, he's had a very poor season. He honestly has. I do think there's more down to the car. It's not suiting his style whatsoever. It doesn't matter who you put in that car, they aren't going to do very well. Maybe drivers can do better than Albon. I think there are some drivers out there who could do a better performance. However, I don't think it'll be enough to what Red Bull want. Red Bull want both their drivers fighting for wins, fighting for championships, and of course challenging the Mercedes guys. Only Max is doing that, but Max is once in a generation kind of driver. Honestly, he's incredible what he's doing at this moment in time. Albon is struggling massively. I do believe Albon needs to go back to AlphaTauri to kind of have a year of a full reset, like what Pierre Gasly did. It has done him the world of good. There is talk of put Gasly back in that Red Bull seat. There's talk of him. Does he deserve it? 100%. He 100% does deserve to go back to Red Bull. But should he go back to Red Bull? That's a different question. In my opinion, absolutely no way. Gasly needs to look further afield and get away from the Red Bull program and just run away from them as far as he possibly can. Now, Christian Horner has also said that if they do decide to drop Albon, that they will be looking outside of the Red Bull driver pool for a brand new driver, because as we all know, Red Bull like to keep employing their own drivers from their own academy, promote them to the sister team AlphaTauri, and of course promote them to the senior team Red Bull Racing. There's no one left available. They won't be re-promoting Daniel Kvyat. They will not be re-promoting Pierre Gasly. There's talk that Red Bull and Gasly don't see eye to eye anymore. Understandable. And there's talk of Gasly possibly exiting the Red Bull program altogether, which I'll actually be speaking about in F1 24. Which I'll be actually speaking about in Word on the Street in the next segment. So stick around for that. Like I said, Albon will be staying. But will he be there next season? There's a 10% chance he will be, honestly. Because if Red Bull feel that they don't want to go off and break tradition, Albon will be there for another year. And I feel like because of how critical and how open they were and how probably brutal they were about Pierre Gasly, and now the same thing's happening with Alex Albon. Red Bull look like idiots. They look like absolute idiots at the fact of, all right, we thought Albon would be the guy to change all this, and we didn't think Gasly was up for the job. We thought Albon was, and now next thing you know, Albon, he's probably doing a worse job than what Gasly was doing, in my opinion, and at this moment in time, and there's no signs of things changing. He got lapped again at the Portuguese Grand Prix, half a second away in qualifying, and just miles away from his teammate in the race. Not good enough. if I'm being totally honest. They need someone in there with experience, like a Perez, like a Hulkenberg. One of those two drivers will be ideal. Will they beat Max Verstappen? No. Will they get closer to Max Verstappen than what Alex Albon is? 100% they will, because they've got experience and they've got speed. And of course, Perez does bring a few more dollars with him as well, which is irrelevant for Red Bull. But like I said, any extra cash will be, heavily, will be very much needed. And as well, there's talk of Perez going to Williams as well, which we'll get onto in a little bit, a word on the street. But I do think Alex Albon will be staying. However, I don't think he will be there for next season. I like Albon. He is a good driver. He's not a bad driver. I just think maybe he needs a couple more years back in the midfield before he's ready for another promotion in the future. Will it be with Red Bull? I doubt it. I really, really doubt it. I think Red Bull need a couple of years away from promoting their drivers, have a solid lineup for the next 2 to 3 years. Then when someone is actually ready for that big seat, then they can go for it again. Will it be Albon? Will it be Tsunoda? Or will it be somebody else in the future? There's talk of Yuri Vips. He should be in Formula 1. We'll have to wait and see what happens with him. Nick Cassidy is another name that's doing the rounds as well. Let me know what you think about this Alexander Albon phase. Do you believe Red Bull? Do you think he will be there before the end of the season? Do you think he'll be there for next season? Do you think he'll be replaced? If so, who will be replacing Alexander Albon? Let me know in the comment section below. Right, it's now time for Word on the Street. Beautiful. Now, if you're new to Word on the Street, this is basically our transfer news segment. Any transfer news that I was doing the rounds, we'll all put it in the end segment on here on Word on the Street. Basically, a saying that we normally say. Word on the street is so and so is moving to so and so, or so and so is leaving, or whatever. In the transfer world of Formula 1. And now, word on the street is that George Russell is saying that Sergio Perez's camp is pushing those Perez to Williams rumours for 2021. Now, this rumour just came up from out of the blue, essentially, only a couple of weeks ago, when it said that Gerilton were interested in dropping George Russell to appoint Sergio Perez because they want a driver with experience. They want a driver who can develop the car going forward for these new 2022 regulations that's coming in. And it's left a bit of, more or less everyone's surprised. Like, whoa, what? I thought George Russell was secured, because back in July, Williams, I think they were the first team to announce both their drivers for 2021. So, yeah, it came up as a big surprise, and we spoke about this in last week's podcast with Will from FP1, which, again, if you want to go and listen to that, link will be below. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, this. Now, again, the rumours is kind of is getting bigger and bigger, but George Russell did say at the Portuguese Grand Prix that he is confident he's going to be there for next season. And even Toto Wolff turned around to the media and said that Russell will be at Williams for 2021. But again, are they going to be true? Because we've heard this before with other teams, with other drivers and their management. This driver will be here for next season, and next thing you know, they're not. So it's like, well, okay, what do we believe here? I just think it's going to be one of those things where we will see what happens with time, whether Gerilton want George Russell, whether they want Sergio Perez. If Russell is dropped, I can't see him going to any other team. There is talk of him going to Mercedes. Is he ready for Mercedes? I really don't know. Only Mercedes really know this, because Mercedes want two drivers that can score consistent points. Bottas is doing that. Of course, Hamilton is running away with it. Is Russell ready to go alongside Lewis Hamilton to challenge for world championships? Well, or to push Mercedes all the way to winning Constructors' Championships to get the point if Lewis Hamilton is down or whatever, or even challenge Lewis Hamilton like he did when he was up against Fernando Alonso back in 2007. So only Mercedes will really know this as to whether they want to have Russell in their team next season or not. Yes, Bottas did sign a new contract, but like I said, I keep saying contracts are irrelevant. They can be broken. Mercedes do have the money to break Bottas' contract to get Russell out of his contract with Williams into their seat if they want to do that. If not, it will be a year on the sidelines for George Russell. Is that worthy of his ability? No way. Russell is a quality driver who's got a lot of potential. Shame he is struggling in the Williams, which anyone would, if I'm being honest. Even Hamilton would. He will be in the same position Russell is now. He can't get much out of the car because the car is pretty poor. I want to see Russell in the midfield to see what he actually can do, because I think Russell has got a very, very good driving talent. But if he is on the sidelines for next season, it will be a travesty. But if Williams do end up employing Sergio Perez, it's not a bad move. It's not a disaster move. It's not like they're getting rid of him for another paid driver or a paid driver with no experience like Nikita Mazepin or another driver with money. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But you know what I mean. It's not like they're bringing in a Sorokin, for example, or another Lance Stroll, let's say, who is unproven, who had a lot of money behind them, and it's like, is he better than that other driver? I really don't know. But Sergio Perez is a quality driver with experience. Is that a good move for Sergio Perez's career? Probably not, because again, he's going to be languishing about in the midfield. Perez needs to be at a top team where he can show off his skills, his talent. He deserves to have a top seat. He could have had that with Aston Martin. He got removed. Nah, never mind. What he can do in a Williams, I think he'll do okay, but we'll have to wait and see as to whether this will happen or not. And finally, word on the street is Pierre Gasly will be staying at AlphaTauri next season. No, it hasn't been confirmed, but Helmut Marko has said to the media this week that Pierre Gasly's teammate for AlphaTauri in 2021 will be announced in November, or around about the time when Formula 1 heads to Bahrain for the Bahrain Grand Prix or the Sakhir Grand Prix. Around that time now, in the last F1 24/7 I did, there was talk that AlphaTauri were going to announce both their drivers for 2021 in December. Now, Helmut Marko was kind of more or less confirmed that Gasly is going to be there for another season, because like I said earlier, there was talk of Gasly going up to Red Bull once again, and there was talk of Gasly going off to Renault to replace Ocon. People would say, well, Ocon needs to have another season, which, alright, makes sense, and of course he'll be coming up against Fernando Alonso. Will that be good for Gasly? Probably not, because Alonso's quite arrogant as well. You know what Alonso's like. So probably staying at AlphaTauri for another year would make perfect sense for Gasly. Of course, he had that turbulent time at Red Bull. He does deserve another chance back there. But let's be honest, it will just go back to square one. The car won't be for him, it'll be for Verstappen. And like I said, Gasly and Red Bull don't see eye to eye. But I think there is no one else ready enough, or two drivers ready enough to be promoted for AlphaTauri in the junior category. The talk of Tsunoda being Gasly's teammate to replace Daniel Kvyat, who will probably go off to another form of motorsport. Nah, shame, never mind. Daniel Kvyat was a good driver, but I think probably his day with Red Bull is done as well. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with this. It's not a bad move. It's not a good move as well. I think Gasly could be doing better, but there are limited seats, and he's probably just sitting out for another year and then see what happens in 2022 to see where everyone else goes. Could there be some new teams coming in? Could there be some more seats available? Could there be a shock move, a shock retirement, a shock whatever? There's talk of Hamilton's future. How long is he going to sign his contract? If he leaves, there's talk of Verstappen could go. Will that then open up the door for Gasly to go back to Red Bull? Should he want that? There's loads of ifs and buts about this as well, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. And yeah, it's going to be very, very intriguing to see what Gasly does in the future. Gasly has been unbelievable this season. He really, really has. One of the top drivers in contention with driver of the season in 2020. He's proven everybody wrong. Hey, I love it when people prove me wrong. So what will the future hold for Pierre Gasly? Is this a good move for him staying at AlphaTauri? Let me know in the comment section below. Should he move teams now? Should he move teams in the future? Should he go back to Red Bull? Let me know in the comment section below. But guys, this is where I'm going to end F1 24/7 this week. Thank you so much for watching. As always, been an absolute pleasure. Like I said earlier, if you're new around it, then please like and subscribe as well. Comment below your opinions. And of course, in the description below will be the links to all the articles I've talked about in today's news segment. A new podcast coming out this week as well on SoundCloud. Go and give us a follow on there, link down below. And go and listen to our last podcast with Will from FP1. Agree or disagree tomorrow. Can't wait for that. And of course, our F1 debate show on Saturday podcast as well. And of course, we'll be leaving a segment on YouTube about 12:30 GMT, around about that time we normally do it. So that's when that will be released. And of course on Sunday will be the instant race reaction with me after the Emilia, I can't remember the name of the Grand Prix, but the Grand Prix in Italy at Imola. I can't remember the actual name. It's Emilia something or other off the top of my head. But guys, thank you so much for watching as well. Watch what you're doing. Stay safe as always. And until next time, I'll see you later.